Okay, so one of the latest things that the latest chapter, Boruto chapter 53, as well as the latest even anime opening, Boruto opening 8 for Boruto Naruto Next Generations, has been pushing forth is the fact that Boruto and Kawaki are mirrors that it's kind of already, if you look at episode 1, the very beginning and whatnot, or the first chapter for that matter, they're similar to like a Naruto and a Sasuke type of situation, right? But the more and more as we go forward, especially again, the latest opening in particular is what really sparked me to do this video, you see that one is mirroring somebody totally different than you would expect, because you would expect for Boruto, because he is Naruto's son, to mirror his father, and Kawaki to mirror Sasuke, because that's kind of what the parallels originally and the optics of it look like. As we're moving forward, again, just looking at opening 8 of Boruto alone, it's the opposite. It's showcasing Kawaki on the side of Naruto. You see the visual, even as it's doing like an homage to opening of Shippuden Bluebird. You see that Kawaki is on the side of Naruto, and Boruto is on the side of Sasuke, and that's been a conversation alone from the very beginning of the Boruto story, going back to Boruto Naruto the movie. If you remember correctly, one of the big things was that Naruto said, man, he's just like Sasuke, and a lot of what Boruto's character is essentially, what if, up until this point, depending on what happens with Naruto, is what if Sasuke got to live a little bit longer with his parents? Just look at Boruto's character. He was very, very gifted. He had it all, just like Sasuke. You know, he was very gifted. He had his family, his clan. He was just like recognized by the village as like, oh shit, he might be something great. Again, he had the thing of his brother's shadow in front of him, but nevertheless, he was still very talented. He had it all up until the tragedy of losing his parents. Boruto, he's at that point right now where he could potentially lose at the very least his father, but he was gifted, talented, so on and so forth. Kawaki is mirroring and has mirrored, if you go to his backstory or whatnot, Naruto. I mean, even alone just seeing the relationship and the bond, that you could argue that Kawaki looks at Naruto as a surrogate father, because Kawaki had it really bad. Now, I'm not going to put the scales of who had it worse, Kawaki or Naruto, but as far as comparing it to like a real world scenario, let's look for a second. Kawaki, he was abused and treated like garbage by his own real father. His real father sold him off to be a lab rat guinea pig for years upon years by this creepy dude Jigen and Amado, and he was put in test tubes, he was poked and prodded, and they did so many different things to this guy, and he was just in a hell's nightmare. Like, you know, Jigen would beat him when he wouldn't listen, he would hide, he was basically being tormented and traumatized beyond belief. So yeah, I mean, it's different in terms of what happened with Naruto of just being completely alone, but nevertheless, he had a horrible upbringing, and honestly, again, it's just showing the parallels. Now, going back to that very first opening, classic ForneverWorld at the very least when it comes to a Boruto discussion, one of the things is I was looking at the dialogue, right, and I was putting my mindset in, okay, what if, because the whole idea behind this video is, what if Boruto is the villain of the second half of the time skip? What if we see that whole village, you know, Konoha all destroyed or whatnot, and that's actually due to Boruto, whether it be that he had a Momoshiki roid rage or whatever the case may be? What if it's Boruto being the antagonist and Kawaki being the protagonist, basically mirroring an opposite reflection of Naruto and Sasuke? But looking at the dialogue, one of the things I say is, for starters, Boruto says, Kawaki, I didn't think you would go this far. Now, immediately, you're going to look at that, especially without context, you know, just jumping straight into the story at the beginning, we all looked at it as like, oh man, he went this far, he's the one that did this to the village. What if he's talking, just put yourself in the mind of Sasuke. Boruto is supposed to be like the Sasuke, and he's, up until this point, resembled a lot of traits of Sasuke. What if he's talking the way Sasuke would tell Naruto, why would you go this far from me? Why are you chasing after me? So what if when Boruto says, Kawaki, I didn't think you would go this far, he's talking about, I didn't think you would go this far to stop me. And then when Kawaki says, I'll send you where I sent the seventh, what if he's referring to that in terms of to save him? Because right now, we don't know exactly what's going to be the aftermath of Naruto using that insane Baryon mode. We know that he's badly injured. We know that there's going to be some severe ramifications. What if Kawaki, using the karma that he ultimately regrows, which we're going to talk about that in a second, what if ultimately he sent Naruto to a different dimension that could potentially keep him alive or help to heal him? And what he's saying is, I'm going to send you the same way to heal you from the craziness and insanity that is going through your brain and stop the Momoshiki possession that's happening to you. And just quickly, more than likely, I'm assuming what's happening there with Kawaki, because you got to think again, just quickly to throw this in there, that Kawaki and Boruto both have the karma mark at the end of, you know, the story. Something's going to happen to pause Boruto's or slow it down at the very least, but what about Kawaki? Why does he have the karma mark again? Well, just go back to the end of Ishiki Osutsuki's life, the end of chapter 53. Kawaki's the one that stomps him out at the very end as he's about to die. So technically, Kawaki is the one that killed Ishiki Osutsuki. Like, Naruto gave a lot of, like, you know, taking a lot of time out of his life, but the one that crumbled him down in the very end with the footsteps was Kawaki. Might have been a big mistake on his part, because now that could very well be how he gets karma back, and it's going to slowly grow over the next couple years. But going back to the dialogue, Boruto says, was this the only possible outcome? Again, what if he's talking about, like, is this the only possible outcome of, like, you not leaving me alone, you not stopping whatever it is, like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do because I have my ambitions. And even looking at that scene, when you notice there's Kawaki on one side and Naruto's face is there, and then on Boruto's side, there's no Naruto face on the Hokage monument. Now, you could argue back and forth, to be honest with you. This one is, like, kind of adding to everything together. You could say, oh, so Kawaki didn't care to destroy that piece of Naruto, but you could also say that Kawaki is standing on the side of Naruto because he's the one that's defending Konoha. He has been able to stop Boruto from completely destroying Naruto's other half, because, I mean, at the end of the day, we've seen for a while now, and even with the latest chapter especially, Kawaki has showcased time and time again he really adores and cares for the 7th Hokage. For him to come out and say that a world without Naruto is a world that he doesn't want to live in, he'd rather be dead, that shows that he is running with the same soul, the same spirit. I just got goosebumps talking about that, but the same soul and spirit as Naruto. You go back to, I want to say it was chapter 9, the end of chapter 9, the end of the Boruto Naruto, the movie adaptation. I think this was even said in the Boruto movie as well. Sasuke continues to talk about the soul of a shinobi never changing, and there's a little dialogue back and forth between him and Boruto, where Boruto says, I'm nothing like my father when it comes to talent, and Sasuke does say at one given point there that, yeah, I'm afraid of that. I was afraid that would be the case, because if he's not, then everything that their conversation was is the fact that, yeah, he might be like Naruto in certain aspects, but for the most part, his soul is like Sasuke. What if Sasuke went through some horrible and dark shit? I could even see, because again, there's a lot of things that could happen in the time skip. I talked about, I wouldn't give him point in another video, what if Boruto went to go train with Kashin Koji? Shit, what if Kawaki goes to train with Kashin Koji? What if that's the whole, you know, Naruto going off with Jiraiya to train? What if Kawaki goes off with Kashin Koji? Because again, he's kind of like the son that Naruto unfortunately never had, because Boruto's not that kid. We've seen Naruto even say before, like, yo, there's something about you. You remind me so much of me that I just want to protect you. They have that bond. That would be insane, even though, again, a lot of people would want, like, oh, his son to go and train with his sensei in a way, you know, Koji being a Jiraiya clone or whatever. But what about if it's actually the surrogate son that really takes after him and loves Naruto so much that goes to train with Koji? That would be a very, very interesting twist. Hell, to save, even on a marketing standpoint, to save the franchise on the manga side of things, they could even rebrand the story as Kawaki Naruto Next Generations. That would be freaking insane, and get a lot of people to be like, wait a minute, so the new protagonist, which is a lot more likable, I think a lot of people more can resonate and understand and sympathize with Kawaki more so than they can Boruto, because despite the fact that Boruto has changed, Boruto has grown a bit and whatnot, at the end of the day, people still remember that he started off as a spoiled brat with everything, complaining that his father doesn't give him enough time because his father is the leader of the village. People don't want to accept, for whatever reason, that Boruto has changed and grown out of that scenario, but Kawaki, he hasn't had none of that. Kawaki's been a tragic kid from square one. So a rebrand of even calling it Kawaki and Boruto Naruto Next Generation, something along the lines of that, to make it that more so the main character and the focus starts to shift on Kawaki's journey, I would rock with it. I would love it. I mean, I've been a fan of Boruto up until this point. You know, it's had its ups and downs or whatever, but switching the entire focus and making it central to Kawaki, the misunderstood but rising hero, he's just like Naruto in a lot of ways, of like, he's just starting to learn ninjutsu now and he's doing it the best way he can. He's not that good at it. That's how Naruto started off. And another thing I want to add in there, what if Naruto is on death's door, so to speak? What if Naruto decides over his own son, and I think this would burn Boruto and make him more hateful and angry, what if he decides to pass on the Nine Tails, you know, Kurama, over to Kawaki instead of his own son? Like, what if he decides, what if Kawaki says, like, yo, I had that meeting, remember it was a few chapters back now, probably a year, maybe more, of Kawaki being able to actually be face to face with Kurama when Kurama looked in at him. What if that's where the beginning, the seeds were planted for Kawaki to take over Kurama? And overall, from all of these points alone, it seems like it could very well be plausible that the second half of the Boruto Naruto Next Generations could very well be, based on everything we've seen, Kawaki being the heroic main protagonist, or at the very least the good guy, while Boruto is somewhat of a villain. I mean, for crying out loud, he just took Sasuke's eye. And when we see that time skip battle of them being older, Kawaki and Boruto, you could still argue his sensei through and through is Sasuke. You see, he got the cloak, he got the sword, he got the scratched headband. So that's probably the extent of any senseis coming to train him. Like, nobody else is gonna come in and help Boruto. Depending on what happens to Sasuke and Naruto, that's probably where the last person that he's really gonna look up to and give him some influence. However, Kawaki probably could have had more influence. I still, and this is a major stretch, you know, take it for what it is with a grain of salt or whatever, but that little collar around Kawaki's neck that we see in the time skip or whatever, what about if that's similar to like how Hinata sewed, you know, the scarf for Naruto in the Naruto the last film? What about if she sewed him a scarf because like that's kind of like her son? And one last thing, it doesn't necessarily have to be that Boruto is completely evil. It could be a battle and a conflict of ideals. Maybe Boruto is just gung-ho about, no, we gotta continue to be shinobi. Maybe after the death of Naruto and Sasuke, the world decides, yo, we need to switch things up. Like the age of shinobi is over, and again, Boruto doesn't want to accept it, on top of the fact that he has this alien creature, Momoshiki, whispering in his ear, do bad things, motherfucker, be evil. So there's that as well. Very curious what you guys think about this, though. Do you think with everything that we've seen thus far and everything I've mentioned in this video that we could very well be going into Kawaki Naruto Next Generations, with Kawaki being the Naruto of the story and Boruto being the Sasuke? And y'all know for the longest time throughout Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, Sasuke was an evil motherfucker. And I guess I also wonder what that would mean for like Mitsuki and Sarada. Like, you know, Mitsuki will probably try his best to support Boruto to bring him back to the light to a certain degree. Sarada will probably be mixed, and you know, all those fan shippers that shipped Sarada x Boruto might have to go and ship Sarada x Kawaki, just saying. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and we could very well be heading in the next few chapters into Kawaki Naruto Next Generations, and I'm all for it, baby. Let's go. Evil Boruto, that sounds like a vibe. Kawaki being the main hero, that'll switch a lot of things. A lot of people's perception about the story might be like, oh, he's had it bad. I might rock with Boruto now. Well, Kawaki now, I guess. Have an awesome one.
It's nights like this, and times like this, that I can give another hit.